Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Allspot-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod, and thrilled to be here with my good friend.
Yeah.
We're going to be with you guys live for the next 2 hours. We've got 2 hours. We were just there for an hour. Now we're going to be here for an hour, and we've got a lot of amazing stuff, great guests and stuff to talk about.
Two great guests.
Yes, thrilled about all of that, and we should just say who we have. And I don't remember which order. I think we have
Chris Hall first.
Okay, so Chris Hall, he calls himself an autistic entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
How much do we love that? And his business is computers for the Autistic Foundation.
Right.
Can't wait to hear about that and how he got started in that. And then we got an amazing guest that I've wanted to have on the show for a long time, Dr. Mary Barbera. She is a mom, but she's also a BCBA.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever think about becoming a BCBA? Did anybody ever try to talk you into BCBA?
No.
I certainly had people
You could
saying
be
to
one.
me,
You know enough.
I could not be a BCBA, but people talk to me and still they're like, you should become a BCBA. And I was encouraged when they would say, some moms take their knowledge and they become a BCBA. And I was like, well, those women are better than I. I just like put a period at the end of that sentence. I was like, no way.
Right.
So I'm always in awe of women that can do that. She has an amazing book that's The Verbal Behavior Approach, How to Teach Children with Autism and Related Disorders, and amazing book that sold over 50,000 copies. And so I'm excited that we're going to have her on the show.
Right.
At long last. And then we've got news to cover as well. So a little bit of news. So shall we start with, this is... I've heard a little bit about this, but it's, I must say, I'm amazed that we're still talking about this, but we've got an interesting report that says that some children who dramatically lose a range of abilities after the age of 2 may have a condition called childhood disintegrative disorders, CDD, according to a meta-analysis of 20 different studies.
Right. The CDD generally has all the features of autism, as well as some that are unique. Children with autism also regress, but they typically do so between 1 and 2 years of age. Those with CDD show a rapid loss of skills between ages 2 and 7.
But so this is so interesting to me because, I talk on a regular basis. I was places in Sacramento doing talks, and I tell about, Jem's story, and I read up all the time about true regressive autism.
Right.
And I always say in my talk, when I was a young mom, I certainly knew about autism, but what I knew was that some kids just didn't progress. We heard about those kids with autism, and that was not my child, so I didn't worry about that.
That was not my child either. My child regressed.
And then I knew that there were some kids that regressed. We all saw the videos on YouTube and on the internet earlier before there was YouTube of kids that were, running around talking, doing whatever one day, and the next day they were in their high chair and it was lights on, nobody home.
Right.
And that kept me up at night. I was worried about that, but it wasn't my kid. That wasn't what we saw. My son had true regressive autism where he lost a little skill every day.
That was the same with Wyatt.
Right. And they say that well over 50% of the individuals that are diagnosed with autism now, that's the kind of autism that they have. And I think that it's a particularly insidious, look, none of them are good, right? But one of the things that happens with our form of autism is that moms are told they're crazy.
Right.
And that we have fallout for a considerable portion of our life of that because we go, something's going on, and people go, no, it's not. And at least me, and I think a lot of other parents, I was like, oh, okay, because I wanted to believe that nothing was happening.
And because people saw our children progress at a certain point and thought, well, they can't be regressing now.
But you were told, you went in and said, isn't something going on? And everybody was like, no.
Boys are late talkers.
Yes. All
that was one of the things
that we get told of, I was told, well, you're just a late in life mother who worries about everything.
Right, I was told that too.
That's true, but my kid did lose language also.
Right.
I get
right. My child was putting his head through the kitchen window, and my pediatrician said, well, that's frustration from his lack of ability to talk, which is coming from being a late bloomer.
And see, I want to go back and slap these doctors.
I know.
Is it just me? Or
No.
kick them with a pointed shoe?
No.
Let's say that. But so now, And look, I'm of two minds about this because we've known about this diagnosis in the DSM-5, the childhood disintegrative disorder, for a while, and I wondered when it was going to rear its head because we like to move the pieces on the chessboard all the time. Now, I have said for the longest time that I wish we would come up with a new name for the different types of autism.
Right.
I do. So I don't disagree with now we're going to call this some other thing. But my problem is that if you're an insurance company and you just have gotten legislation passed saying that you have to cover autism, is this the way they're going to try to skinny out of it, Nancy?
Right. Well, it has unique features that are different from just straight on autism, including more severe symptoms and a different symptom profile from autism, that it's accompanied by acute anxiety, aggression, hyperactivity, and often by features reminiscent of psychosis, such as muttering or gesturing to the air.
But is it me? Like, I'm sure that in the past, these things have been lumped together all together with autism. I don't care if we separate it out. I think that's better if we phenotype it. But are they now going to say that this particular thing, well, we don't know if it works with ABA.
I don't know what they're going to say.
This makes me nervous.
It doesn't say that in the article.
It doesn't, but it makes me nervous because I always wonder what's driving this.
Right.
But let's all be aware of it. There are aspects of this that I could say that, Jem's regression started before the age of 2, which is the only reason why he doesn't fit this profile. Right? And
Wyatt started around between 1.5 and 2.
Yeah, Jem's did too.
And he fits this profile in terms of symptoms.
But I think most of our kids that have regressive autism would, is my point. And so I'm just mindful of I don't want this to be an excuse to not give them the therapy that helps and works and whatever.
Right.
Let's be vigilant, as they say.
Okay. The second story is about a new play, a use of a puppet in a play that there's been a whole controversy because they say that the puppet used to portray the autistic boy dehumanizes those with the condition.
So the play is All in a Row. It stars former EastEnders actress Charlie Brooks as a mother.
That's London, I assume.
Yes. There's a show that's called EastEnders.
Right.
It was pretty hilarious. And she plays the mother of a severely autistic son. It's set to open later this month at Southwark Playhouse. It's written by Alex Oates. And Alex is somebody who had worked part-time as a caregiver. The puppet portrays the character of Lawrence, who's described as autistic, nonverbal, and occasionally violent. Okay, so this is an interesting thing. And it's always interesting to do perspective taking. And so you have this play that has actors that are human, and the person who is on the autism spectrum is being played by a puppet.
The puppet is also played by, the puppet is somebody who is not autistic.
The puppet is as I understand it, is a character that
is autistic, severely autistic, but the person working the puppet is not autistic. That's what I meant to clarify.
And I believe in talking to my friends that are self-advocates that it would be, and I don't want to put words in people's mouth, but I was just talking to Alex Plank the other day, and he said, I just don't understand why there would ever be a reason to have anyone else but an autistic actor play a person with autism in this day and this age. I don't know that I agree with that.
Right. I don't know that I do either.
And I said to him, because if you say that, then the reverse is true. That if you can only play things, if the only people who can play things are people who already possess those things, then what's acting, first of all? And second of all, then are you saying that a person who is on the autism spectrum can't play
a non-autistic who's typical?
And I think that we don't want to put that out into the world. So it's a rough thing. And then when you think about, because, I am a playwright. I've now written 2 plays that have been produced, and I like to tell stories, and and I'm a director, and you think of, how do I tell this story? How do you tell the story of a child who is nonverbal, has autism, and is sometimes violent? Because you can't cast a child in that role.
Mm-hmm.
So would you cast, and you can't even cast a neurotypical child in that role. I mean, you could if it's filmed, but not on stage.
Right, right.
That's too much to ask of a
Mm-hmm.
child actor, I
Mm-hmm.
feel. And so what do? Do you cast an adult, and do you cast an adult with autism to play a child? Isn't that? I mean, it is an interesting question.
But a lot of these autism advocates have said that it literally dehumanizes the identity you sought to represent.
And I can see that point of view. But my question to them is, how do you tell this story then?
Right.
On stage, do we say that we just don't ever tell stories of children on stage and they're always off stage? How do you tell the story? Because that also isn't good for the autism community. So I have more questions than answers, but find it fascinating. I don't disagree with them
They did consult those with autism and parents of children with autism while
what did
developing
they
the
say?
play. It didn't say what they said, but they just wanted to let us know that they consulted them.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. And then our last story, it's one that I've been wanting to cover for a while, that there is a new organization, it's a new nonprofit that's called the National Council on Severe Autism. And it just is brand new in this month, and a lot of people last week were we didn't have time for in the news last week, or I would have covered this. But it's interesting, wait a week, and there's a bunch of people who are unhappy about it too, right? Because you're never going to please everybody. But a lot of people last week were just applauding that finally there's an organization to deal with, because when it's severe autism, those families don't get the coverage of what their plight is like the rest of us do. And I'm talking about the severest of the severe cases.
Right, and it's struck a chord, obviously. It says some 1,500 people have signed up for the newsletter.
Yeah.
Dozens of caregivers have sent emails seeking help, and more than 2,000 people follow the group's Facebook page. And it features posts about the need for supporting housing and hospital care, the dearth of clinical research on severe autism, and the personal accounts of raising severely autistic children.
Yeah. But there's some controversy now surrounding it, and not surprisingly, some of it is coming from the Thinking Person's Guide to Autism. We've had Shannon DeRoche-Rosa on the show before, and I enjoy hearing her opinion always. It is not often the same as my opinion, but you know, that's the world, folks. That is the world. But she is saying that the people who are doing the board are parents and guardians, and she is saying that these are not the people who should be in charge of this conversation.
That it should be the actual autistic people themselves.
But we're talking about the people who are the severest of
right,
the severe.
so how can they?
And my question is, like, so are we saying that people who are not the severest of the severe should be running this organization? Because I don't think that that's right either. I think that perfect example, and I'm going to call Alex Plank into play again.
Okay.
Alex was on the show probably 2-3 years ago. He was co-hosting with me, and we had a fabulous mom who was on doing an interview via Skype, and she was talking about her new book. And it was Liz Becker, and she was talking about her new book, The World According to Matt, which were blogs that she had written about her son, Matt. And she was talking about how exciting it was because Matt had just been able to move to his own apartment. And this is something that it took her 20 years to work on. Matt is nonverbal and needs daily support, but he wanted to live on his own. And so she helped him. It took her 20 years to teach him the skills. And he's in a facility where he can pull a string and somebody can come and help him. But 20 years that she had put in. And Alex said to her, Alex, who is on the spectrum, but on an entirely different part of the spectrum than where Matt is, right? Very. And Alex was just coming off of being a consultant on the bridge. He's very capable. Alex is more capable than I am.
Right.
Let's just say that, right? And so at one point Alex said to her, and he said, so where does he work? Because that's a question from Alex's world.
Right.
And she said, honey, he doesn't work. He can't work. And he said, what are you talking about? And she said it took us 20 years to get him to be able to be in his own apartment. Like, we could have devoted those 20 years to getting him up to speed on a job skill where he could have done some,
menial, probably
paper sorting
easy
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But we didn't. We chose to spend 20 years on the life skills for him to live on his own. And Alex was like, but, and I understood Alex's point of view. But none of us can completely understand where Liz was coming from because we haven't walked in those shoes.
Right.
Even, and most especially, Alex. So putting high functioning adults who are capable of running a business in and a nonprofit, you can speak to how much it takes to run a nonprofit. I know in the ideal world that it would be people who are on the autism spectrum, but if they're not capable, then we don't do the nonprofit?
Right.
Well, we tried that for how many years? So that's where I am on this. Where are you on this?
I feel the same way. I mean, we can't criticize that they don't have enough of those on the autism spectrum that have severe autism involved if they're not capable of being involved in it.
Well, I think capable of being involved, and I hope that they do involve, but running a nonprofit,
it, right.
For some people, running a nonprofit, for me, running a nonprofit would be way too stressful.
It is very stressful, I can tell you that.
Right. That is not necessarily a kind thing to fob onto somebody and say, and now you have to do this. Playing a role on it, being asked your opinion on it, different.
Right.
Different. But
Agreed.
running it, I don't know how you do it. But appreciate the fact that I am very much about the phrase, nothing about us without us, and every year my understanding of that changes and morphs, and I understand a little bit more. Because as a parent, when I had a child who was nonverbal, I believed that I was his proxy. So I believed that my voice for him was strong. And boy, that's a controversial thing. And Shannon and I don't agree on that, right?
Right.
And there's many other people that we don't agree on and that say that's offensive. But I felt that way as a parent.
Right.
That he got a voice. And if he didn't have one, I was going to be there for his voice as his proxy. I am no longer his proxy. I have a different role now, and my role is
I feel like I'm still Wyatt's proxy to a degree.
And I appreciate that. And I would not disagree with you on that. But I understand that my role now is often to support and then sometimes to sit down and shut up.
Right.
But I would never say that to a parent who is still the proxy.
Well, they're saying there's no single solution for a population this diverse, so
Of course not.
that's
not.
probably what we can take away from
That's what we can take away from it.
it. Okay,
But anyway,
so should we take a break and
we
then come back with our
should.
first guest?
Yes, we should. Chris Hall is going to be joining us. So stick around, you guys. We'll be right back.
Okay. And we're back, and right now we're joined via Skype by Chris Hall. Chris is a 25-year-old autistic entrepreneur, as he calls himself, who one day decided to form an organization known as Computers for the Autistic Foundation, and that was when he wasn't doing his work from home PC repair, which now helps educate and helps others through donating the power of a computer to benefit them as become young adults at no cost to them. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hello, everybody. What's going on? My name is Chris. I am an autistic entrepreneur who does an organization known as Computers for the Autistic Foundation.
How did you start that, Chris?
How I started it was I was fixing computers for people just out of random, and I realized at the time that I wasn't making enough to do anything at all. So I decided one day that I would decide to help kids who were autistic to be able to build computers to donate for education purposes and for social skill purposes and stuff like that. So
It's very cool. And I understand that your business is, it's important to you to be eco-friendly. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So I'm one of the only organizations that uses what's called a velomobile, which is called a bike car, as a mode of transportation over the known automobile and everything else like that. We also use trikes as a mode of transportation. We have done probably over 5,000 miles in the last 3 or 4 years alone, transporting computers to children all across the South Shore of Boston and Massachusetts.
And how many miles an hour can you go on that thing? It's cool.
With the ELF, I can go up to 30 miles an hour. With a normal trike, about 20 miles an hour. It depends on where I am in the Boston area that I can go through. So.
But Boston gets some serious snow. Doesn't that slow you down a little bit? Aren't you freezing?
No, not really, because a lot of the time it's just a workout for me. So I'm usually sweating like crazy when it comes to riding a bike overall. And then when it's snowing out or anything else like that, if it's really snowing really bad, we do not operate. So.
Wow.
Tell us what autism means to you and to those you help.
Autism to me means, you are unique. Autism means, don't let anybody get in the way of your happiness being who you are. Look up every day to know that you are who you are. Don't let anybody bring you down.
That's amazing.
Okay.
And you started this business and you've been promoting this business. How do you make your business stand out in a sea of companies to be able to get the attention you need to be able to help the folks you're helping?
Well, we mostly do our stuff on Facebook. We do a lot of our stuff just in the community ourselves. We work with other organizations such as Access, Autism Sprinter, everybody else who works in the autistic community. We work alongside them as well. We also do disability advocacy as well for kids who need it. So, we are really looking at the opportunities to help kids in need, to be able to help them along the way. We also work with many other companies as well. So we're pretty much out there. We don't get a lot of donations outward, but we do get our word out to other people. So
How can people support you then?
Well, in the state of Massachusetts, we do accept donations of old computers that can help children in need. We also have fundraisers as well to keep us up and going. We have 2 GoFundMes. We have one for computer parts and, just stuff that we need to fix computers. And then we have one for the trikes that helps us rebuild them, keep them on the road, that kind of thing. So.
And do you take all computers? You just take PCs or you take Macs? How do we donate a computer?
How you donate a computer is we work with a few of our local shops in our area, and they are our official drop-off locations. We take any computer that has a dual-core computer like processor in it. We don't take anything that's older than 2006 just because of what we install on it. We take a Chromium OS, like a Chromebook, and we install that for computers that are donated.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. I've got a couple of old computers, but I think they're too old. And
Yeah, I think mine are too old too.
At a certain point, you can't do anything.
Right.
Now, for those of us who are computer illiterate, Chris, how would we know if we have a dual-core processor? Would it say it somewhere on the computer?
Yes, it would say, usually a lot of computers have stickers on them that would say, like Intel Core 2 Duo, AMD, all that stuff works out too. We also take old tablets, they have the factory reset, but we do take tablets to help kids with their assistive technology tools. So.
And how many kids would you say you've helped through this program?
In the past 7 years or so, I think I've helped 30.
Okay, great.
But it's life-changing.
Yes,
when somebody
it is.
gives you a computer, I bet you've got some amazing stories of what these young people were able to do with these donated computers.
Well, we're not just helping children, too. I'm actually starting to help people who are on elderly homes and group homes as well, because we work with Again, I work with disability advocacy people, and a lot of them end up living in elderly homes, housing sections, and all that stuff too. So, I'm trying a trial where we donate one computer for everybody to use, and if nothing goes wrong with the computer, and within a long period of time, I'm going to consider helping those who struggle to have internet access where they live. So.
And you also, when you in your spare time, you have a model train club. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right. I'm going to be a part of the Bay State Model Railroad Museum in Rosendale, Mass. So
That's cool.
Great.
So if people want to donate a computer, how do they do it?
again, we work with our local computer shops for donations. I'm not super sure about how the process would go if somebody lived far away. It's just the costs for shipping computers can be very expensive, especially in bulk.
Okay.
The difficult part is the hazmat fees for batteries. They can get very expensive because if something was to happen during shipments and stuff. We're 100% sure that's why donations, when we do donations, they're local. So, we want to donate out of state, but it's just kind of difficult at this time. So.
And how does one sign up for a donated PC?
So how you would get a donated computer, if you live within our mile range, you'd go visit our website and download our sign-up form that we have, and you fill it out, and you mail it in to us by the Postal Service with a copy of your child's IEP or their doctor's diagnosis for proof.
And what is your website, Chris?
It's kind of odd to say, I usually don't just say it. I usually just type it out, but it's the PC Pitstop 001.wix.com/CFTAF.
That's
okay.
a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. That's why I just redirect everybody over to our Facebook page.
Okay.
So Facebook
We
page.
have Instagram too.
And
so,
what's the Facebook page?
Yeah, what's your Facebook page?
Yeah, the Facebook page is Computers for the Autistic Foundation.
Okay, good.
Okay,
That's
makes
easier.
sense.
All right,
Thank
you're
you
doing
so
great
much.
work. We
Yes.
appreciate you coming on the show today to talk about it.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate your time too, and I really hope that people will consider visiting us and helping us with our cause. So I really appreciate
Great
it.
cause.
Thank
All right,
you
thank you,
so
Chris.
much, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Okay,
I love
so,
it when
yeah.
people are, I love the
Entrepreneurial,
entrepreneurial spirit,
yes,
and
entrepreneurial
when
spirit.
they see a problem, find a solution.
Mhm.
What a great, great thing.
So we're going to
Good
take a
listening.
break, and when we come back, we're going to be with Dr. Mary Barbera.
And thrilled to have her on the show, so
Yeah.
stick with us.
We were just talking about Valentine's Day, and that's
Yes.
tomorrow.
Yes, and we both were trying to wear a little pink
A little red,
thing,
pink, yeah.
going on, and we hope that you all have a wonderful Valentine's
Yes,
Day.
and your kiddos as well.
I was just saying that, Jim and I, we're not good at Valentine's Day and our anniversary because every year something would be going on, and it was usually something with Jem, and that took our focus, and we said, well, we'll do something next week or whatever. And that isn't the case anymore, but we're out of the habit of it, so I have to get that together. I got to get on
Just
that.
one more thing you've got to get together.
Well, but that's a good thing. And do you have plans for Valentine's Day?
No plans for Valentine's Day.
But you may have a Valentine now?
I don't know.
I'm
Maybe.
Maybe. She's not saying. Her lips are sealed. Okay.
Maybe.
So tomorrow, though, on the show, we expect to have Bonnie Yates on the show. I'm waiting for confirmation on that. But we do have, this is very interesting, we have Dr. Andrea is going to be on, and she is coming to us from Restoration Chiropractic. So she is a pediatric restorative chiropractor who helps align children's spines, because a lot of times we've had chiropractors before on the show, and there are different types of chiropractic that sometimes have been shown to be very helpful to our kids on the spectrum.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yes.
For kids.
Years ago, after I had people who were at Generation One. What am I trying to say?
Generation Rescue, Generation One.
When they have their conference. Conference is the word that I couldn't come up with. I had women who would go and be my person on the ground for the radio show. And there was one mom that did that for me, and she came back and she said, you know, the most amazing thing I saw was a presentation from a chiropractor, and we had him on the show, and he practiced a kind of chiropractic that was called Nuka chiropractic, and talked about how there is a pivot place where your spine and your brain, not your brain, but your skull meet. And that if that gets crimped up at all, you don't get as good a blood flow. You're fine, you're not having a stroke,
Right.
but you are not as productive.
Okay.
And that all kinds of people on the spectrum and off the spectrum, when you get that realigned, that they watch like your cheeks flush and you just feel better, are able to focus better.
Right.
It's years later, and I'm like, I want to get that done.
It sounds like an
I'd like
interesting
for
modality.
me, I'd like to make sure that there's enough blood getting to my brain,
Right.
because I think I'm mildly convinced that there isn't. Some things not getting to the top.
So tomorrow you'll have this chiropractor on that you can learn about that.
And she came very highly recommended to us, so I'm excited to talk to her. Plus, we'll do our mindfulness moment tomorrow. And I'm fresh back from San Francisco, going to a conference where I saw a presenter. I'm going to be talking about it all year long, talking about mindfulness having to do with autism parents, and how it is, and with individuals on the spectrum, and how there are hundreds of studies now who show that helps supercharge ABA. Like, you want to get more from your ABA, you do mindfulness.
Okay.
And so I'm sorry, I'm
So
going to
you do mindfulness before the ABA? Like
you're doing mindfulness on a regular basis every single day.
Okay.
But you know, we were told before we started ABA in our generation,
Right.
you have to get the child healthy first.
Right.
That in order for ABA to work, your child has to be healthy, because if the child is like, doubled over
Right.
with their fists in their
Distress,
guts, how much
whatever.
you can still get something done, but you're not going to get as much done.
Right.
So you want to supercharge your ABA, you get your child healthy first. Now they're saying do that, but start practicing mindfulness for the parent. They found that parents, and I'm a part of that study, parents are more effective when we've done mindfulness, and that the individuals themselves, because anxiety is such a big part of this.
It is. It's so interwoven into autism.
And it's anxiety for the parents, it's anxiety for the kiddos who then become teens who have anxiety, and adults who have anxiety, and mindfulness helps to address that.
Okay.
And in particular, a type of mindfulness that's known as ACT. So it's ACT, Acceptance Commitment Therapy. So Google it. We'll continue talking about that tomorrow.
Good. Sounds like an exciting show.
Yeah, we'll have a good time. Sorry you won't be here.
Yeah, me too.
You're off doing things to make money for
Act
grants
Today.
for
Autism Care Today, our new
Yes.
name. I gotta
Exactly.
stop saying Act Today.
We all do, but we're working on it.
Right.
In any case, thank you for being with us, Nancy, and for doing all the things that you do. We actually have like 2 minutes according to my clock.
Okay.
And I would love it if you would just tell people, because you have a run coming up.
We do. That's is it April 6th? I hope I'm
Oh my gosh, that's really soon.
right. It's in San Diego, and it's
okay.
for military children with autism.
Yes.
This is like we've done this run for a number of years, and it's a special fund for military children because they're particularly hard hit because they have to relocate so many times,
Yes.
and oftentimes have a parent deployed. So we look at their specific needs, and this is a 10K, 5K fun run, Easter bunny, Easter egg hunt.
Love it.
I'm afraid I didn't get the date right though.
I'm hoping you didn't
not-
get the
it's
date
not
right,
April
because
6th.
if it's April 6th,
No,
I
it's
can't
not.
be there.
It's not.
Okay, so we'll find what the date is.
We have to
but
find
it's
out
in
what
April.
the date is. It's
But
in
that's
April.
really
It's
early in April.
during Easter break, so it couldn't be April 6th.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to
Unfortunately-
hear that, because I can't come on April 6th.
Okay.
April 6th is, I already committed to, it's the Fullerton Cares Mardi Gras for
Okay.
autism. So I want to come to your run. I don't want to
Okay.
be, so
I'll
let's
have to.
check the
Unfortunately, my
dates.
brain is muddled right
I
now, and I
tell
don't
you,
have that.
I think here in LA where we've had just rain,
And we have rain again today.
And
It's
I
like
love
living
rain.
in Seattle.
But I said that this morning too. I was like, do we live in Seattle now?
Right. It's totally
What's up?
different.
Like, we don't know what to do with it, you guys.
No.
We we haven't had sunshine in way too long.
Right.
We're going to need those lights that everybody needs all around the world. We don't normally have to do that here in LA. But in any case, we'll find out when the run is, but you guys can be virtual runners.
Yes, you can.
You
can
don't have to
support
come
it.
to San Diego.
Go to Act Today's website at act-today.org, and it'll give you all the information on the run so you can participate or be a virtual runner.
And if you can be there, it's a beautiful, you can run, you can walk, you can do whatever. It's a wonderful opportunity.
It's at
to be with your family.
Tecolote Shores in San Diego, which is just beautiful.
Stunning.
Right across from SeaWorld.
Exactly. And fun people there. It's a really fun day. Over by noon, and then you can go do something else in San Diego. I love to do that.
Yeah,
trip.
it's a fun day.
I love to stop at can I just tell on myself?
Yeah.
I love to stop at the Fermentation Farm on the way home in Costa Mesa. They make probiotic coconut yogurt that's called Zingy yogurt. And they make, it's the best thing ever. You should have Wyatt try it. Jen says, are we going to that yogurt place again? It's a wonderful. And then they sell things like sauerkraut and fermented beans. And, you guys, it's good. And they have classes. It's my hope and dream to take a class someday.
Learn how to ferment.
I want to.
So good for us.
I have the jars and everything. I just haven't done it. We should do a whole segment on that.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right. I'm waking up now. And now we're done.
Okay.
In any case, thank you guys so much for being here with us always on the show. We're going to be back tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And give yourselves a hug from me. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now.